All right. Welcome to High School Hoops, episode 27. All right. What do we got on the docket this week, Coach?
Well, we're into March, and
We are.
episode 13 a while back was about what wins games early. I think it's important now, since we're in March, to ask that dying question of what wins games in the postseason. And so I'm wondering, as a veteran coach like yourself, and I'm going to give my 2 cents of, do you think there's any difference in regards to how you handle games in the postseason, or are there any, what I would say, little key ingredients or things that we can do as coaches to win games in the postseason?
Well, I don't think you treat it a lot different than you do in the regular season. I mean, we obviously have some traditions in our program that we do just this time of year, but I think the question was what wins games.
Yep.
I think what wins games is teams that take care of the ball, teams that can hit free throws, teams that have depth. Because I can tell you, all our state championship wins when we won it. It wasn't one of my starting fives that helped me win it. It was 6 through 10 that helped me. Somewhere along that trail, one of those people has to step up. So, that's where I think bench is really important. And especially and people are going to listen to this because it's high school hoops and everybody has different trails to get to where they want to go. But here's my theory with this is somewhere in that trail, you're going to get a bad whistle. Somewhere in that trail, something's not going to go right. And you have to have hopefully experienced that during the season. But it's how you react to that, how your kids react to that, how you react to that will really play into whether you're playing the next day or the next weekend or whatever. So I would say depth, free throws, taking care of the ball, precision, those things are really big.
Those are a lot of things that I wrote down on my notes. I wrote down ball security. We had a game on Tuesday. We lost by 5, and we had 17 turnovers.
Ooh.
You take away 5 or 6 of those turnovers, the game is over. It goes our way.
Right.
So why I had it down on my first thing is just overall ball security, in a sense of not giving them the ball, but also controlling the game if you have to leave at the end of the game. We often talk about on Teach Hoops this ability to grind. I think that's huge.
It is, and there's a couple of things I can tell you. Things that we've done this time of year. We worked on situations a lot. I think yesterday in practice we worked about a half hour on situations, and we also work on. We have the ball. We're up 4 with a minute and a half. Mr. No Shot Clock. We sit and we'll work on taking a minute off the clock. And the reason I do it for a couple reasons. I go, look how tired they are, and they're chasing you around. So, you can only do that a couple times in practice, but it teaches both the defense. They can see how tired their friends are by just running around trying to double them.
Right.
Get the ball.
That goes into this idea of preparation. You talked about game situations. I think the teams that are most prepared, especially in the postseason, have the most success. But another thing that I really want people to understand is that it's not once you get to the postseason that miracles start happening. It's everything that happens beforehand. Have you done your job and strategically planned throughout the whole year? We talk about practice planning and seeing your vision and everything else. Are there really that many key ingredients, or is this just a discussion? The reality is that it's everything before. I think there's a little bit of tidbits that there are things that we can talk about, I think, that are extremely important that will help you win games at the end of the year. But it's all those things that you've done throughout the season to really get you there.
Right.
Because you only have a short period of time once you get your seed, once you get your final game.
Right.
It's like it's everything before, and people just think, it's just going to happen. The good teams that are playing well at the end of the season tend to do well in the playoffs. Look at the NCAA tournament. I think the same replication happens at the high school basketball as well.
It does. It's like I was telling you before we came on air that I played 6 games in 10 days. And this week, I think we had 4 or 5 practices. It's like, oh my goodness! It feels like, what am I going to do with all this time? But you're right. There's no magical play. There's no magical one thing you're going to do at practice. Hopefully, you've been grinding for the last 4 months, and you've gotten your out of bounds plays down, and you've gotten your whatever your last second play down, and those kind of things. And we just practice them so the boys feel comfortable with them. That's why we do them.
Another thing is this. I think guys early on in the playoffs get really nervous and they miss easy shots. I think finishing is huge. I mean, I've been talking about finishing all season, but I think we have a lot of young guys on Tuesday night just miss easy bunnies because they're just nervous.
Yeah.
So I think finishing is really important. The ability. Here's one that you may want to chime on this one. The ability to adjust and be flexible. The ability to win in different ways in the postseason. Sometimes, people get caught in doing the same thing over and over, and it might just not work against that team. And are you able to adapt and make adjustments when it really matters most? You look at the Houston Rockets, they shot so many threes last year, and it worked from all the way, but if they would have made some minor adjustments, maybe they're playing in the NBA Finals last year. You see it with other teams. I've seen it with high school basketball teams. The ability to adapt and be flexible in the postseason, I think, is extremely important.
It is. And that goes back to what I was saying before. There's going to be that one game where you're maybe a fast-paced team and you're playing a grinding team, and you're going to have to adjust. Some of my greatest teams, we wanted to get up and down the court 90 times, and some of the big games that we lost is people were able to take us out of that. We weren't as effective doing it. So, good.
Yeah, the other thing, the last thing I would say is that other guys need to step up. You got a lot of studs, but it's when you watch the state tournament. I watched it multiple times at different states and different levels. It's not always the top scorer that makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's other guys that have their shining moments that really it's your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, and you're like, wow, that's why we are state champions.
Mm-hmm.
The importance of a team. It's that guy,
quote unquote role guys that are going to
Yep.
help you win the state title. It really is. And that's what I was saying before. It's every time we've won it, it's been 6. There's been a guy 6 through 10 that stepped up. And then when people are reflecting back on their seasons, that's where, as a coach, hopefully you're developing everybody. If you're only developing your top 7, you're an injury away. I mean, that's why you got to think. You got to think long term. You got to think the marathon rather than the sprint sometimes.
Or the everything before that I talked about early in the podcast, and the ability to be flexible because you never know when that person is going to be the type of player that you need in the end of in a big game, whether it's defensively, offensively, inside, outside, and so it goes a long way.
It does. All right. Anything else?
Nope. Just wanted to touch on that because everybody wants that secret recipe, but sometimes there's really not a lot of secrets to it.
The 6'11" kid from, Texas or something.
There you go.
Secret sauce.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right, sounds good.
Week, Coach.
All right. Bye-bye.